Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
It's been a few days since that India-Pakistan T20 World Cup match took place, and we all know that India lost sadly. Of course, we would have preferred if India had won instead. But what's happened is that after a long time, we are getting a sense in India that we have become bad losers. Now, there was a time when India mostly lost in most of the games, including in hockey, say from 1968 onwards. 1968, the Mexico Olympic disaster. After that, our bad phase started. So we got so used to losing that even if you lost again and again and again, there wasn't this kind of national mourning and anger, because losing was default and winning was an exception. So you celebrated your wins, but when you lost, then you said, all right, we may be losing, but we are good losers, we are gentlemanly, we go and shake the other side's hand, etc., etc. So we were generous with dealing with losses when we were losing most of the time. Now we are not losing most of the time. We are winning most of the time in cricket as well as hockey. So hockey, maybe worldwide, we are not winning all the time, but we are losing a lot less than before. We are winning a lot more than before. That's how we got our first medal in a full Olympics in such a long time, after several decades, after more than 5 decades in a full Olympics. Moscow was not a full Olympics. Moscow was a truncated Olympics because of the boycott by Western powers and all the anti-Soviet bloc. Now, the other thing that's happened is that with cricket, until about 20 years back, we had a very poor record generally of cricket, and then we've seen in the last 20 years, Indian cricket has seen a renaissance, a big renaissance. India is now the #1 team in tests, most of the time, #1 or 2 in ODIs, T20s not that much because India plays too little T20. But India has the IPL. India now produces the money to finance ICC and the world's cricket. India's rate runs in the global cricketing circles in spite of the efforts of the so-called Lodha committee and the Vinod Rai committee to destroy it. It hasn't been destroyed. Vinod Rai might have been more successful in destroying some elements of India's economy more effectively, but not Indian cricket. Indian cricket has shown the resilience. Now, the other side of this is India vis-a-vis Pakistan. Now, India vis-a-vis Pakistan, both in cricket and hockey, those are the two sports in which India and Pakistan are direct rivals and traditional rivals. Now, in both those sports, India had a history of not doing very well against Pakistan. So, roughly, Pakistan would win, say, 3 and India would win 2, or in some cases it was even less than that. That equation also changed in the last 20 years or so. India began winning a lot more, and then it became so dominant that both in cricket and hockey, India was winning most of the time. So in fact, if you look at the data, it tells you that the equation exactly reversed. So what has happened in the process is as follows, and that is how we declutter the basic issue there. The basic issue is that India have lost this match at a time when India is no longer used to losing to Pakistan. It's the first time India has lost to Pakistan in an ICC World Cup in 12 matches. It's the first time, right? In fact, in almost no international tournament does India lose to Pakistan anymore, and hasn't been losing now for a long time. Similarly, Pakistan is no longer used to winning. So when Pakistan won this match, suddenly after such a long time, so they went to town invoking God and Islam and this and that, and सारी भड़ास उधर निकाली सब लोगों ने मिलके. All their pent up frustration, anger, having seen India gone so far ahead of them in every field, including cricket and hockey. That is very difficult for a lot of the fans there to handle, just as it's difficult for us to handle in India the fact that occasionally at least we can lose to Pakistan. So just as we are no longer used to losing to Pakistan, Pakistanis are no longer used to winning against India. This result has been a surprise to both sides, and both sides have greeted it differently, except the players on the field The players on the field have acted very decently. Indian team congratulated the Pakistanis. Pakistanis were, you can see when they are talking with Indian players or when they are accepting the greetings, there is a great deal of humility. You don't see any arrogance of the kinds that you might have seen, say, in the days of Javed Miandad and those characters in the past. It wasn't there because there is a general acknowledgement that Indian cricketers are the dadas, and Indian cricket now rules global world of cricket. Whatever the world of cricket is, it may be limited to a few countries, but that is the world of cricket. In fact, except football, I don't believe that any other sport is watched simultaneously as, say, a World Cup cricket match between India and Pakistan. It is that popular among that many people because cricket is played in very populous countries. So when this happened, obviously there was a very sharp reaction on the Indian side. It was as if India had lost a war, which is uncalled for because sport is not a war, except if you're saying it as a joke. I do remember a discussion on the BBC many years ago on how men kill men or why people kill people, right? Why do massacres take place? Why do wars take place? And among the participants in the discussion on the panel was also Ian Botham, the famous England all-rounder. So he said, I don't mind if men kill men as long as they do it for the right reasons. So the anchor looked up and said, like what? He said, like which football club you support. So you can have jingoism, club loyalty, national loyalty as like a joke. You can feel it very strongly in your heart. But to hold it against people or hold it against people on the basis of religion is not only unsporting, this displays a small nationality or small nationalism mindset. That small nationalism mindset unfortunately has stayed in Pakistan, and I don't know what will change it in Pakistan unless Pakistan becomes a more confident nation in terms of where they belong in the world, right? Because their image in the world does not match up to their self-image of their country. India, on the other hand, had outgrown it. India is now a major international power, including in cricket and hockey. India has a hockey medal now. India can now hold a hockey league to rival cricket's IPL, and all of the world's hockey's power will shift to India. And India can do this with many other sports. India has the economic power, it has the moral authority. India is a sizable country with a sizable reputation now. India is no longer punching above its weight. India actually has the weight to be in a certain category in the world right now. In this situation, this Indian reaction has been a surprise, locking up people for supporting Pakistan, locking up people for just having some Pakistani cricketers as their display pictures, locking up people on suspicion because they are Kashmiri students. It's a complete misuse of police powers. It's complete misuse of political powers. And now for Yogi Adityanath in UP to say, I will use sedition. Now cricket is a sport. Cricket is not the constitution of India. A cricket match does not decide who gets which part of Kashmir or in Kashmir using UAPA. So talking about this, I had mentioned that there have been times when the two countries have had very cordial sporting relationship as well, much as they've competed. So some people pointed out that 1999, I think it was started by Anant Krishnan of The Hindu, who said that he was a kid in 1999 in Chennai at Chepauk when Pakistan won a test match, I think by 12 runs in the end. It was a very close match. That's when Pakistan had, was it Sakleen Mushtaq, I think, he used to bowl the Dusra, and India had to chase. Sachin Tendulkar was batting beautifully. He got 100 plus on a turning last day track in Chennai, and at one point got carried away, tried to hit Sakleen Mushtaq against the spin and got out at 130 something, and then India had a collapse and India lost by 12 runs. It was a very hard fought test match. After that test match, the Pakistan team did a victory lap around the stadium, and the crowd stood up to applaud them as if the home team had won. So that showed that Indian crowds were now evolving. That is because India had already improved its performance against Pakistan. So that old sullen feeling was no longer there. Also, this was a more confident India at that point. Now, after that, India went on a tour to Pakistan in 2003-4, and that tour is also famous now for one particular controversy which actually had a very good, positive, virtuous result. That is when Rahul Dravid declared with Sachin Tendulkar batting at 190 something, not out. So he didn't wait long enough for him to get his double hundred. He declared so he could get a couple of wickets the same day from the Pakistanis, and India went on to win that test match, but that became a kind of eternal controversy. That was the tour on which this controversy took place, on which Irfan Pathan made his debut, a very impressive debut. It was also the series which India won in Pakistan for the first time, and won quite easily. It won that series 2-1 in Pakistan, including won by a very large margin at Rawalpindi, and also it won the ODI series in Pakistan. That had not happened. Now, since then, first of all, India's performance against Pakistan has changed radically. Now, Pakistan winning has become an exception. The second thing that happened was that tour was held in a very cordial atmosphere in Pakistan as well. Indian team was lionized. Balaji, who was our fast bowler, somehow nobody expected him to do as well as he did, but he did. So he acquired the nickname Balaji in Pakistan. He was like, he used to get the same kind of response from Pakistani crowds that you've seen maybe A.B. de Villiers getting in Indian crowds. I was at Firozshah Kotla in Delhi when India and South Africa were playing, and India were thrashing South Africa, and South Africa just had a few wickets left. They were just battling for survival. It was an impossible battle. That A.B. de Villiers came out to bat, and the crowd, which had been cheering India so far and basically smacking its lips with the foretaste of victory, they were all standing up and saying A, B, D, A, B, D, right? So Balaji and many other Indian cricketers acquired that kind of image, and they got that kind of reception in Pakistan at that time. In fact, anytime Balaji came into play, crowds would sing Balaji zara dheere chalo, right? Rhymed on Babuji zara dheere chalo. So that was a cordial series. And Indian spectators who went there, they were also, they got friendly vibes from the Pakistanis who took them out shopping, who took them home. This was a very different period. Now, what am I getting at? What I'm trying to tell you is that Indian Pakistani sport and India-Pakistan relations have moved in tandem. So when the relations are good, when the diplomatic and strategic relations are good, political relations are good, then the sporting relations are good. Then winning and losing does not create the same bitterness on one side and euphoria on the other. Then sport is not war. It is when the relations are fraught, relations are not good, that sport also becomes fully affected by that. So one feeds on the other. It's been impossible to separate the two. In fact, if you look at the pattern of India-Pakistan cricketing engagement, which I will just tell you, you can see, if you just see it carefully, you can also plot the ups and downs of India-Pakistan ties. So when the ties are on the up, you find the two countries playing even bilateral series. When the ties are down, you find the two countries only playing the odd one overseas here and there. So this is how it goes on. 99, for example, the World Cup in England, India played Pakistan in the World Cup, beat Pakistan, as India has done 11 times out of 12. And that was the night when the heaviest fighting was going on in Kargil. So it was an ICC tournament, it took place, otherwise it would have been impossible to have an India-Pakistan game at that point. Now see, India and Pakistan have played 59 test matches as yet. Too few given that both countries have been playing for a long time, but that's because between 1962 and 1978, India and Pakistan played no cricket with each other bilaterally. Why? That is because 62, after 62, the war took place in 65, 64 onwards, things began to get rough between India and Pakistan. 65 war took place, then 71 war took place. So that toxicity lasted 62 to 78. That is, for 16 years, India and Pakistan had no sporting relationship bilaterally. If they played hockey, they played hockey at international tournaments, not bilaterally. Now, after that, 78, 79, what happened? How did the Indian team suddenly go to Pakistan? And how did India and Pakistan resume their cricketing relationship? That is because in 1977, Janata Party came to power in India. Soon after, Ziaul Haq took over power in Pakistan. Now, Ziaul Haq reached out to the Janata Party government because in Pakistan there was a lot of antipathy and anger for Indira Gandhi, who had broken up their country. So there was maybe some mistaken belief that now that she's been defeated, the new government in India will be friendlier to Pakistan. Now, new government in India in 1977, the Janata government, just to remind you, had Atal Bihari Vajpayee as its external affairs minister. Atal Bihari Vajpayee visited Pakistan. He visited Pakistan and China because he always wanted to improve India's relations with its neighbors. So he went to Pakistan. Pakistan in that phase, that situation was improving so dramatically between India and Pakistan that Pakistan gave its highest civilian honor to Morarji Desai, Nishane Pakistan. Can you imagine somebody suggesting something like that right now or at many other times in our relationship? But I'm making that point that 77, 8, 9, 80, that was a good phase in India-Pakistan ties. So one of the symbols of that improvement of ties was agreeing to send the Indian team to Pakistan. The team lost. It lost 2-0. There were big celebrations in Pakistan. Everybody on the Indian side complained about umpiring in Pakistan, and that problem with umpiring continued. I remember one session of commentary there on TV, or was it radio, where Lala Amarnath was doing the commentary as an expert from the Indian side. Mohinder Amarnath was batting. He was given out, I think he was given out either hit on the pad, foot and a half outside the off stump, or with the ball turning away, or maybe in one innings he was also given out when his bat, between the bat and the ball wasn't just daylight, but maybe there were several strobe lights or whatever you call them, right? There was so much space between bat and the pad, and I think Javed Miandad used to be bowling at that time, a slow nothing spin. So Lala Amarnath was asked to comment on the decision, and Lala Amarnath said, in his own way, and I'll try to mimic him, apologies Amarnath family, he said, I will not comment on this decision because Bhinder is my son, right? So it was that kind of tension, and yet the game went on. India lost at that time, then Pakistan came to India, Pakistan lost, then India went to Pakistan, India lost. So this continued on for some time. Now, the overall history of tests, Pakistan has done much better than in India. Overall, we played only 59 tests. India has won 9 of them. Pakistan has won 12 of them. But again, if you look backwards and study, you can see in the last 20-25 years that equation has changed. Because earlier, Pakistan was winning a lot more than India. Last 23-24 years, say since 99, India has won more test matches than Pakistan. And as time has passed, that equation has changed further. It's unfortunate that India and Pakistan have not been playing bilateral series now since 2008 of any kind, since 26-11. But you can see on form, on global international performance, that India is doing much better than Pakistan. Pakistan has also not been helped by the post-2009 sort of ban by many countries on their teams travelling to Pakistan. After that, a terror attack targeting the Sri Lankan team there. If you look at one-day internationals, 132 have been played between the two teams. India have won 55, Pakistan have won 73. Once again, I'll give you some data as we go along on how this equation has changed in the last 20 years. T20s are very new. India plays too few T20s anyway. The two countries have played 9. India have won 6. Pakistan have won 2. But even there, India's record is much better than Pakistan's. Now, if you look at World Cups, so one-day international World Cups, 7 matches played, all 7 India has won. T20 World Cups, 6 matches played, 5 matches India has won. Champions Trophy, 5 matches played, There Pakistan has won 3, India has won 2, but Champions Trophy to that extent is a smaller tournament, less important tournament. It's not a tournament at the same level as a World Cup. But overall, in these ICC tournaments, the record is 18 matches played. India has won 13, Pakistan has won 4. Or India has won 14 because one is seen to be tied, but that had a super over, right? So 14 is to 4. That is the equation now between India and Pakistan. Once again, if you look at other tournaments, you can see, look at Asia Cup. In Asia Cup, 15 matches played. India have won 8, Pakistan have won 6. One was drawn or tied or maybe washed out or whatever. Now look at our test series, 1960-61. In India, 5 matches all drawn. Indian wickets then also used to be quite flat and boring. 1978-79 in Pakistan, 3 matches played. India lost 2, 1 was drawn, so 2-0. 1979-80 Pakistan came to India, 6 test matches played. India won 2, Pakistan won 0, तो बराबर हो गया. 86-87 was an interesting series. It was the first time Pakistan won in India. So Pakistan came to India. 5 test matches were played, 4 were drawn. Last one, I think, in Bangalore, Pakistan won. That was the match where on a very bad broken wicket where ball could turn square, jump from anywhere, Sunil Gavaskar played what could be his best innings, and it was his last innings in Test cricket, I think 96 or 97. He got out unfortunately at that point, and India lost, I think, by 16 runs. Otherwise, that would have been a great victory, and everybody celebrated that as a great match and a great series. 86-87, 5 tests, India lost 1, so Pakistan won a series in India. 1988, 1989-90, India went to Pakistan, a famous series. That's the series when Sachin Tendulkar made his debut. That series, by the time that series took place, the atmosphere in Pakistan was a bit tense because that was around time tension was building up between India and Pakistan over Kashmir. That is just after the kidnapping of Rubaiya Saeed, the swearing in of VP Singh government in India. By the summer of 1990, we had come very close to a war. So some of that tension had now begun to reflect on the field. But as things happened, that was a match, that was a series of 5 draws. So it did not get so polarized. We saw more polarization at that point in the Hockey World Cup that was going on simultaneously in Lahore. And I do remember going to a match because I just happened to be traveling in Pakistan at that time because India had a new government. So the idea was to see how's Pakistan responding to the new government, and a lot was happening in Pakistani politics. Benazir Bhutto had made a speech at the Pakistan equivalent of the National Defence College, where she said armies cannot be the ideological guardians of the ideological frontiers of a state, that if armies could guard the ideological frontiers of a state, the Soviet bloc would not have broken up. Now in Pakistan, you don't go and you don't say it. And if you are the Prime Minister at the sufferance of the army, you don't say it to the army's own brass that you guys don't protect my ideological frontier. So it looked like her time was limited, that she had basically spoken her own sacking orders, and as it turned out, she was sacked soon enough. So with all that happening, I had gone to Pakistan. It was good for me because, good timing, because the cricket series was on and the Hockey World Cup was on. So I thought I will also get a little fringe benefit watching, talking to people who I adore in both the games and also writing about this. So in fact, you will see this picture on the screen. This is the picture taken in Lahore at the hotel where the Indian team was staying. Lahore did not have that many hotels then. I was also staying there. And why do all of us have this fancy stuff? I have lipstick, Sachin Tendulkar has a mooch, etc., etc. Because by that time, it had become a bit unsafe for Indian cricketers to go out socializing or partying or shopping. So there was no entertainment, no socializing. So there itself, every Saturday, a well-known cricket journalist who later became a stock market whiz, Modar Patheria, he had started an institution called the Saturday Club, where all the players and some journalists would get together sort of in fancy dress. So because Sachin, you can see in that picture, because Sachin by that time had not even grown hair on his face to shave. So he was given a mooch as if to say he's a big boy as well. And you see Salil Ankola behind me and some of the others that you can recognize. Also Sanjay Manjrekar. That was a series in which Manjrekar got a lot of runs and he was called the Wall. And standing behind us I think is Vivek Razdan, fast bowler who's now a commentator. So 5 drawn test matches. Cricket did not see that much tension. The tension was on the hockey field in a big way. And I was struck by a slogan that I heard on the hockey field, which was "Hilti hui diwar hai, ek dhakka aur do," right? And then it became kind of a slogan that you heard often from Pakistani crowds when they played against India. "Hilti hui diwar hai, ek dhakka aur do." And you know, I don't know what leads to what or who picks up ideas from where. Remember when we heard those lines in India and where it became slogan of a certain political party and a certain group? By 1992, Babri Masjid, ek dhakka aur do. So I don't know what leads to what begins where. It's a digression, but I thought I will mention it to you. So 1989-90 series basically went all right in cricket, and then things began to get bad. For the next 10 years almost, there was no series. It was in 98-99, after the nuclear tests by the two countries, when some backroom discussions had started between Nawaz Sharif and Vajpayee, that cricketing ties were resumed and Pakistani team came to India. By that time, the mood was quite thanda, and that is when this famous ovation for the winning Pakistani team in Chennai took place. Now, that is when, in fact, the day that match was decided was exactly the day when Nawaz Sharif made his famous invitation to Atal Bihari Vajpayee to come on the bus ride to Lahore. And you know that behind that, a lot of behind the scenes work had gone on. So the mood between the two countries was that something needs to be done, and Nawaz Sharif was saying again and again, in fact he had said it then in his interview with me on the day this match was being played in Chennai, coincidentally, that now our competition should be only over the economy and cricket. So once again, politics was calm, so sporting relationship was calm. Then again, India and Pakistan had a bad period from 99 onwards, because 99 summer Kargil happened and there was then a freeze. End of 99, Musharraf removed Nawaz Sharif, and Musharraf then began to behave like he was the king of a country which had conquered India. He was disabused of that soon enough, and then we know the attack on Parliament took place, 9/11 in America took place. Pakistan got a bad name globally as the University of Jihad, and after the attack on Parliament, Vajpayee government piled up the forces on the borders and we nearly went to war, right? After that, when that thawed, once again Vajpayee and Nawaz Sharif met. Vajpayee visited Pakistan. It was a very friendly meeting. The two decided now again to make peace. The two decided on a ceasefire on the LOC, which endured for many years after that. They both sued for peace, and that's when in 2003-04, Indian cricket team again went to Pakistan. So India went to Pakistan and India won its first series in Pakistan. 3 test matches, 2 won by India, 1 by Pakistan. That's the series in spite of Shoaib Akhtar being with Pakistan. I know bahut bolta hai, it talks a lot, so I'll mention that. So that was the series where Irfan Pathan made his debut, and the Pakistanis took defeat much better than before, and also they seemed to be genuinely admiring of the Indian team. And that phase sort of lasted till 2007-08 until 26-11. By that time, you would remember that Pakistani players had come to play in IPL, Pakistani umpires were standing in IPL, Pakistani spectators were coming. In fact, there was a match in Mohali to which a lot of Pakistani spectators came. You saw a lot of bonhomie between the crowds, just as we had seen in Lahore when Indian spectators had gone. And 2008, 26-11 then changed it. After that, in 2012, there was a little bit of an effort, briefly, but by that time, there wasn't such popular support for getting the Pakistanis back. 2015, Prime Minister Modi went to Pakistan to greet Nawaz Sharif on his birthday, and we thought that some reopening will take place, and some little thing did start at that point, but then we know what happened. 2017, the army and the establishment and Pakistan's judiciary all sort of colluded with Imran Khan and removed Nawaz Sharif, and since then our relationship has been maybe at the worst level since the end of 99 until say 2002, and that is what is reflecting also in cricket. So we can actually describe many phases in India-Pakistan relationship as completely disastrous, but equally you can call some of them brilliant because it's all relative. So I would say that 2003 to 2008 until 26/11 happened, that phase was brilliant, and it was brilliant across the tenure of two governments, that is Vajpayee and UPA 1, and since then things have been downhill, and that has now begun to show in popular responses to victory or defeat on both sides. In fact, since we are talking sport in 1989-90, I will tell you this story as well. So Pargat Singh was playing hockey for India. He's one of my favorite hockey players of all times, one of the finest defenders India has ever produced, which is saying a lot because India does produce great defenders. He's now an MLA for Congress party in Punjab. So I'd gone to his room to chat about hockey. India were doing very badly. India finished 12th in a field of 12. And Indian team was being barracked all the time. So as I sat in his room, relatively modest compared to the rooms in which our cricketers were staying, he called the waiter to get me some tea, and the waiter said, "Sardarji, Kashmiri cha piyoge? Will you have Kashmiri tea?" He said, "No, normal tea." The waiter again said, "Kashmiri tea?" He said, "No, aam chai." The waiter said, "Sir, Kashmiri kahwa honda hai, bahut changa honda hai. Kashmiri kahwa is very good. I'll get you Kashmiri kahwa. You have that." So Pargat Singh got irritated and looked at him and said, "Listen, पहला तो कहेंगे कश्मीरी चाय पियो, first you will tell us have Kashmiri tea, फिर तो कहेंगे कश्मीर दो, then you will say give us Kashmir, the overseas देना नहीं, that we will not give." And he sort of gestured as if he was going to pick up the hockey stick, which was all a joke. So I thought I will mention this incident also to you, because sport between two countries who are very rarely friends, and their relationship is mostly determined on the basis of how inimical they are to each other. Their sport and politics get very deeply mixed.